Okay, so I kind of want to go ahead and get back into our coverage over X-Men Nate Gray because, like I said in our last video, when it comes to Nate Gray, it's really more of him trying to make a life for himself in this reality. Because in the first part of his run in the main Marvel universe prior to X-Men Onslaught, it was just him always on the run, just always doing things big, left and right, fighting against Excalibur, fighting against Cable, fighting against Charles Xavier. The dude fought against a lot of different people, but at the same time, it's completely understandable because he came from a different reality, better known as Age of Apocalypse. But with him now being in the main Marvel universe, it's really more of him now trying to adjust to the idea of being in this reality and trying to make a life for himself. But also, let's not forget that his powers are slowly killing him off. And so for Nate Gray, it's him wanting to have a life before he officially dies. But it's also Nate Gray still trying to be, well, a hero. Because for Nate Gray, he sees this building on fire, right? Now, with this building being on fire, it's supposedly an abandoned building. But in reality, you have addicts living in those buildings. And so even though they have been labeled abandoned, they're technically not. And so innocent people's lives right now are in danger at the moment. And so you have Nate Gray going out of his way to try to help out those people, which honestly he does. Now, for Nate, it's also him saying like, okay, cool. Let me find the person who had technically started that fire. It was an arsonist. And so you have Nate Gray go after that guy and kind of use his powers to give that guy his own taste of his medicine for what he has done, because those people no longer have a home. Like, yes, they're drug addicts, but at the same time, now their home has been completely burned down. Now, for Nate Gray, it's also him realizing, well, his girlfriend realized this, that they need money. And so that kind of leads into Trinity, his girlfriend, trying to find the best way to make money. Where, of course, they use Nate's powers to help out different people. And once he does help out those people, of course, they pay. Now, when it comes to the storyline, it does get a tad bit sad here because you do have this boy who has cancer, right? And I kind of feel like his mom brought him there to meet Nate Gray to find a way to hopefully get rid of his cancer. But it's really more of Nate Gray just giving her the strength she needs for this long journey that her and her son going on while he fights against cancer. Now, for Nate Gray, he kind of felt like there was somebody out there watching him, and technically he was right. But the thing is, we don't figure out who it is just yet because we now switch over to Bastion. Now, when it comes to Bastion, as we all know, he's the next big bad guy for the X-Men and the next big crossover, Operation Zero Tolerance. And so when it comes to Bastion, he's right now trying to find the different members of the Hellfire Club. And when it comes to our earlier videos for our coverage or the X-Men, we had saw different people begin to pop up to make a brand new inner circle for the American branch of the Hellfire Club. And so for Bastion, his main goal is to hopefully find them. Now, as we do switch back over to Nate Gray and also Trinity, it's really more of Nate Gray kind of done for the day helping out people. And the reason why, because he kind of want to focus more on Trinity. Because for her, he wants to know like, okay, I have some unanswered questions about you. But at the same time, it's him wanting to know like, what is their official status at the moment? Like, are they actually a couple? And so for Nate Gray, he kind of want to figure out those things out, but also he kind of feels like with her being in his life, it's now a start of a new life for him, a better life for him. And so he wants some alone time with her. But while you have that going on, literally as you have Nate Gray and Trinity fly over this ship, on that ship, we see the different members of the Hellfire Club coming together. So, of course, that'll be Sebastian Shaw, that'll be Tessa, Fitzroy, and also, of course, Celine. Now, you also have Madeline Pryor there as well. And you had this book trying to hide the fact that it's Madeline Pryor, but we saw in prior videos it's her. But the idea of her being there is very interesting to Sebastian Shaw. And you see what I mean here in a moment. But for a brief moment, I kind of want to jump back over to Nate Gray. And the reason why, because you have Nate kind of learning that, okay, if you want to have a life in this reality and be a better person, then you have to do things in a better way. Meaning that you can no longer try to steal stuff with your powers. And so you have Trinity forced Nate Gray to go inside and use the cash he made by helping out people to buy the boots that he saw in the store. Now, getting back over to the different members of the Hellfire Club, you had these different members right now. Really, Sebastian Shaw kind of wondering like who Celine brought with her. Like, yes, it's Fitzroy, but also this redhead, of course, being Madeline Pryor. But for Sebastian at first, he doesn't care for Madeline. But you didn't have Sebastian and Tessa take a hard look at Madeline Pryor and kind of realize who she is. Because for Sebastian, he saw the inferno in her eyes. And so with that, he's kind of like, oh, you are something special that could possibly help us down the road. But to them, it kind of means that they now have the ability to get their hands on the X-Men with Madeline Pryor in their grasp. But we do switch over to Nate Gray and also Trinity. Now, for these two characters, they just got done shopping, right? And so for Nate and her, they kind of realize they don't have a place to stay at the moment. And so you have the two characters move into this vacant apartment. Now, it's not like it was Nate signing a lease. It's right now him saying like, I will use my powers to hide the fact that we're inside this place right now. But it's Nate saying like, don't worry. Sooner or later, I'm going to do better things for us. But at the same time, I still want to know more about you. It's because what he heard from Mr. Sinister, because while in the middle of the whole X-Men Onslaught crossover, Mr. Sinister basically told Nate Gray, like, listen, she's always playing the game. Like, yes, it may seem like she does care for you, but in reality, like, nah, man, she always has some kind of agenda. And so that's why he says, I need to know everything about you. And so as we get into the next chapter, it's really more of us now picking up with, well, Nate Gray watching television. Now, it's kind of cool to see him experiencing TV for the first time, but it's also Nate Gray kind of showing us that between the chapters, him and Trinity, they had that conversation, right? And when it came to that conversation, it was really more of him kind of realizing that there is that possibility that she's still being controlled by Mr. Sinister, because it was Mr. Sinister who had technically helped her to control her abilities, but it's also Nate saying like, there's a possibility the idea of you falling in love with me or me falling in love with you is part of his plan. And so the whole idea of the possibility of them being played by Mr. Sinister is just lingering over them. He's truly afraid of the possibility of being played by him. And so now for Nate Gray and Trinity, their whole entire brand new relationship is beginning to fall apart. Now, the middle part of this storyline or this chapter, it's really more of us just seeing Madeline Pryor trying to prove to the higher ranking members of the inner circle of the Hellfire Club that she can handle her own. And so they have Madeline Pryor fighting against Scribe. Now, when it comes to Scribe, we met her over in Excalibur because she was part of the London branch of Excalibur. Over there, she was the Red Scribe. Now, with that being said, when it comes to Scribe, we have to remember that she was being possessed by a character known as Mountjoy, who comes from the same future as Fitzroy and also Bishop. Now, when it comes to Mountjoy, he has the ability to merge with other people, but to control their bodies and over time kind of consume their bodies as well. But anyways, for Mountjoy, is him still pretending to be Scribe. But either way, as the fight goes on, at first, for Madeline Pryor, she does struggle. But you do have Madeline being able to bounce back and being able to defeat Mountjoy by literally pulling him out of Scribe, which honestly kind of shows how powerful she truly is. But with her doing that, it shows the rest of the inner circle that she's somebody they can have with them. Now, we do kind of switch back over to Nate Gray, and when we do, it's really more of Nate Gray kind of realizing that somebody has entered his apartment, and that somebody would be no other than Bishop. Now, when it comes to Bishop, the reason why he is there is to actually talk to Nate Gray, not to fight against him. But of course, for Bishop, he's not really good at talking to other people when it comes to handling different things. But either way, when it comes to Bishop, he does try to tell Nate that he's kind of impressed that Nate was able to realize that Bishop was in the room. Because Bishop, he made sure to bring a lot of different tech to go undetected, but unfortunately, It didn't work. Now you do have Nate Gray try to punch Bishop, but the thing, not punch, try to use his powers on Bishop. But the thing is, for Bishop, he's able to absorb kinetic energy. And so once he does that, he's then able to release that kinetic energy right back at you. And so you have Bishop being able to use that kinetic energy he absorbed on Nate Gray, where it does kind of make Nate Gray even more mad, but you do have the two characters go out the window. And they do get saved by Rogue. Now, when it comes to Rogue, she's that person to calm everybody down. But for Rogue, it's really more of her saying like, hey, listen, the reason why we came here is to have Bishop talk to you. Because Bishop is actually concerned for Nate Gray. Because for Bishop, he also lived in the age of apocalypse reality alongside with Nate Gray. And so he kind of understands the life that Nate Gray had in that reality. And so it's Bishop saying like, hey man, listen, I get the idea you wanting to adjust and live a life in this brand new reality, but what you're doing right now, going out of your way to use your powers to make money by helping people, is kind of concerning, but also you are pulling a lot of attention at yourself right at the moment. And technically Bishop is right, because again, this is post-onslaught. And so post-onslaught right now, when it comes to humans and mutants, there's a lot of bad blood at the moment. And so it's Bishop saying like, you doing that right there is putting more eyes on you. And with you doing that, that could lead to more problems down the road. Now, you do have Rogue and Bishop lead, but you have Rogue kind of established that even though Nate Gray does not trust the X-Men, it's Rogue saying like, not all the X-Men are the same. Like, yes, we all have similar goals. We all think differently. And so for Rogue, it's her saying like, you can't judge everybody because you saw Bishop here or possibly Charles Xavier. Like, we're all different. We all had the same goals, but we all want to achieve those goals in different ways. But the book does kind of end on the note where you have Nate Gray just go back into his apartment. The problem is, it does seem like he just went into a different reality. Well, the problem is, this reality he went to is the age of apocalypse reality. Somehow, in some crazy way, Nate Gray has gone officially back home. But this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.